When the Galactic Empire's Death Star was destroyed in the Battle of Yavin, the Empire turned its attention to the construction of the second Death Star, now with more urgency, having been deprived of their initial superweapon. But when did construction of Death Star 2 begin? The answer to this question has two different answers, as the timeline for when Death Star 2 started its construction in the canon differs when compared to the timeline that is seen in Legends. In this installment of the Canon Versus Legends Series, I will describe when construction started on the second Death Star, with focus being given to either before or after the destruction of the first Death Star, as it was seen within the canon, and how it differed from what occurred in Legends. Let's begin with the canon version of events. After the destruction of the first Death Star in the Battle of Yavin, the Empire was left reeling as it lost the superweapon that had been the focus of vast amounts of Imperial resources, and with it, a large amount of the Empire's manpower, the Joint Chiefs, and Grand Moff Tarkin. The Emperor's plan for complete control over the galaxy was thrown into chaos with Death Star 1's destruction, and the loss of most of the Empire's high-ranking officers. The Empire not only lost its fearsome battle station, but also had to deal with a full-scale war against the Rebel Alliance, and increased piracy from those who now viewed the Empire as vulnerable. Therefore, following the destruction of the Death Star, and having found himself within this new galactic environment, the Emperor made the decision to immediately start construction on the second Death Star, a new and improved battle station that improved upon and was more powerful than the original, and which did not have the flaws that existed with its predecessor. Since the construction of Death Star 2 only started after the first was destroyed at Yavin, leaving the Empire years away from having an operational superweapon, the Emperor promoted General Cassio Tag to the newly formed rank of Grand General. As Grand General, Tag, who considered the first Death Star project to be a misguided and erroneous waste of the Empire's resources, was given much of the power previously held by Tarkin, and he was free to promote his strategy of utilizing the fleet of the Imperial Navy as a force multiplier, rather than a strategy that focused on a single military asset. Because the Emperor endeavored to build a battle station that was larger than the first, and construction had only started once the original Death Star had been destroyed, requiring the second Death Star to be built in only a fraction of the time, the Emperor appointed Moff Jerjerrod to oversee the project. Jerjerrod was pushed to exhaustion in trying to maintain the schedule of the Emperor's difficult construction mandate, as construction on the second Death Star required almost around-the-clock supervision. Therefore, the new canon demonstrates that following the destruction of the first Death Star, the Emperor was determined to create a second, more powerful battle station, and thus began constructing Death Star 2 only after the Battle of Yavin and the destruction of the original Death Star. So if that's when construction started on the second Death Star, as seen within the canon, what was the timeline that was presented in Legends? In Legends, the timeline for the construction of Death Star 2 is different than that seen in the canon. Whereas there was seemingly no plans to start constructing a second Death Star before the destruction of the original Death Star in the canon, this was not the case in Legends. The idea for the construction of the second Death Star in Legends was born not out of necessity due to the loss of Death Star 1, but rather as a possible scenario for the Imperial Department of Military Research to further develop and improve upon the technology of the original superweapon. Once the first Death Star had been completed, and prior to its ultimate destruction, the Empire sought to build a second battle station that was more powerful than the original, as the Emperor was already ordering the development and construction of improved superlasers. Therefore, in contrast to the construction schedule that exists in the current canon, in Legends, the second Death Star was not planned as a direct result of the original Death Star's destruction in the Battle of Yavin. Rather, the plan to construct Death Star 2 already existed prior to the Battle of Yavin. In fact, even the construction of the second Death Star had been ordered to proceed before the first Death Star was destroyed. The Emperor ordered the creation of Death Star 2, ironically, only moments before Luke Skywalker destroyed the first in the Battle of Yavin. Nonetheless, in Legends, the timeline for the construction of the second Death Star differs from that in the canon, as the construction of Death Star 2 was not born out of Death Star 1's destruction and predated Luke's actions at Yavin. So there we have it, how the construction of the second Death Star started after the Battle of Yavin and the destruction of the original battle station and the canon, and how it started before the Battle of Yavin and the destruction of Death Star 1 in Legends. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions? Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. If not for me, for Grand General Ted.